So the key concept in this question is that if you have a general parabola in the xy plane, and if you were to draw it, and if you needed it to be positive, in this case it's positive here, it's greater than or equal to 0, that means it has no intersections with the x-axis. And that means it has no real roots, and that means the discriminant b squared minus 4ac needs to be less than 0. It will be equal when it touches here. So that's really the condition we need to apply here to that quadratic function. That means that here b, which is minus a, so not to confuse with that a, minus 4 times a is 2 and c is 2, needs to be less than 0 for this to be always positive. So that's what will tell us what the constraint is on a is. So that's 16. So a squared needs to be less than 16. Now note here, we need to maximize or come up with the largest possible value. So I want a to be positive and as large a magnitude as possible. And that would happen when a is 3. 4 won't work because it needs to be less than. So a needs to be 3. And then similarly, we look at this for b. Here the condition would be b squared minus 4ac less than or equal to 0 because this equal here sign. So b is minus b here. So not to confuse with these terms, which are the standard constants. 4 times 1 and then 8. And that becomes b squared minus 32 is less than 0, or b squared is less than 32. Now note here, because we have a negative here, if I choose b to be negative, then that whole thing would become positive. So that's how you want to think about it. Sure, most students may want to go for 5, but you'll note that if it's minus 5, then that would become 2 times 3 minus 6 times minus 5, and then that becomes 36, which is the answer. So be careful with that. That is probably the trap, although you would get a negative answer, but yeah, that still is a possibility. And in general, also be able to quickly understand that that solution means that b has to be less than square root of 32 and minus square root of 32. So all the integer values that are here, and that's what gives you minus 5 here. So to summarize, the answer is 36. Make sure you understand where this comes from, how this quadratic function relates to the parabola and it's not intersecting, and how that relates to the determinants. So to summarize, the answer is 36.